January 9th, 1945. Lingayen Gulf, Luzon, Philippines. Dawn breaks through a haze of salt mist and cordite. The surf is thick with landing craft, their ramps slamming down into the shallows as US soldiers pour onto the blackened beach. Behind them, engines growl, not the whine of aircraft, but the guttural churn of tank treads grinding against wet sand. The M4 Sherman tanks of the US 37th Infantry Division roll forward, their olive-drab hulls streaked with rust and seawater, hatches open, crews squinting through smoke. From the jungled ridge beyond, Japanese lookouts raise binoculars. They smirk. Gasoline coffin, one of them mutters in disbelief, recalling what they'd been told, that the American Sherman was a weak, flammable death trap. Its armor too thin, its profile too tall, its engine too volatile. The Imperial Army's Type 97 Chiha tanks, though outdated, were thought to be superior in the thick, uneven terrain of Luzon. In the dugouts overlooking the shore, Lieutenant Kenji Watanabe, a 27-year-old tank commander, watches the Shermans advance. He's confident. "Burning coffins," he says to his loader. "Let them come closer. They will light themselves." But what Watanabe doesn't know, not yet, is that these aren't just tanks lumbering forward in isolation. They're the backbone of a new American doctrine. Combined arms warfare. Infantry, armor, artillery, and air power synchronized down to the minute. The Sherman, flawed though it may be, is about to become the unstoppable spearhead of an entire invasion. The first barrage lands. Japanese 47mm anti-tank guns open fire, shells screaming across the flat ground. One Sherman erupts into flame, its fuel igniting in a blast of orange. Watanabe grins. Confirmation of the rumors, but even as the smoke rises, 5 more Shermans grind past the wreck, their machine guns cutting through palm trees and defensive nests. They do not stop. They do not hesitate. To the defenders it feels unnatural, mechanical beasts ignoring pain, shrugging off the jungle's grip. The mocking laughter fades. For the first time, the Japanese realize the gasoline coffin burns only when it stands still. And these tanks aren't standing still. January 24th, 1945. Outskirts of San Manuel, Pangasinan province. Rain falls like hot needles through the canopy. The air smells of diesel, mud, and death. By now, the 37th Infantry Division has pushed 20 miles inland, carving a path toward the central plains of Luzon. At their side, over 200 Shermans from the 716th Tank Battalion, grimy, battle-worn, yet relentless. Corporal Frank Red Donnelly sits hunched inside his tank, the Georgia Peach II. Sweat drips from his helmet as he presses his face to the periscope. Visibility, barely 10 yards. Every rustle could be a Japanese ambush. "Easy, Red," his commander mutters. "Keep her steady. Jungle's alive today." And it is. Hidden in the tree line ahead, Lieutenant Watanabe's Chiha tanks and infantry lie in wait. The Japanese have dug spider holes and camouflaged bunkers with palm fronds. Their plan: lure the Shermans forward, hit them in the flanks, and finish them off with magnetic mines and suicide charges. The first hit comes without warning, a hollow clang, against Donnelly's right track. "Hit!" someone yells, but the Sherman lurches on, armor holding. The gunner pivots the turret, eyes wide. "Target, 11 o'clock. Bunker!" Fire! The 75mm gun roars. The blast shakes the trees, sending monkeys screeching into the sky. The shell punches through the bamboo-reinforced bunker and detonates inside, scattering earth and limbs. The crew cheers, but only for a moment. Another explosion rocks the rear, this time from a buried mine. Through the narrow view slit, Donnelly glimpses movement. Japanese infantry rushing forward with satchel charges tied to bamboo poles. "They're coming," he shouts. Machine guns open up, tracers stitching the rain-soaked field. Bodies fall, momentum breaks. But one soldier, impossibly, reaches the Sherman's hull. slapping an explosive charge against the side. The crew braces for death. Then, nothing. The charge sputters out in the mud. The man collapses, mortally wounded. Donnelly exhales, shaking. Christ almighty. From the ridge above, Watanabe sees it all. His men's courage, wasted. His shells, useless against the thicker front plates of the new Shermans. For every tank they destroy, 3 more emerge from the jungle smoke. He radios his commander in a trembling voice. "Sir, they don't stop." As night falls, San Manuel burns. American tanks form a circle of steel around the town, engines idling like predators in the dark. The Japanese lines are shattered, their anti-tank positions silenced, their own armour obliterated by superior fire control and relentless coordination. Inside his foxhole, Watanabe stares toward the horizon, where dozens of Shermans advance with their headlights off, silhouettes glowing from the embers. What was once mockery is now war, and behind those tanks comes something far more terrifying than firepower: the sound of inevitability. February 10th, 1945. Northern outskirts of Manila. The city lies ahead like a wounded giant. Smoke coiling over shattered buildings, church bells twisted into silence. For the 37th Infantry Division and their Shermans, the terrain has changed. Gone are the jungle trails. Here, the streets are narrow, mined, and lined with Japanese snipers. Every corner hides a trap, every window a gun barrel. Captain Thomas Riley of the 716th Tank Battalion studies his map under dim red light. "Urban armour warfare," he mutters. Not exactly what the Sherman was built for. Still, there's no choice. The Japanese garrison of over 16,000 men, commanded by Rear Admiral Sanji Iwabuchi, has turned Manila into a fortress. Riley's platoon edges forward through Taft Avenue. One tank leads, another covers the rear. Civilians wave white rags from shattered windows as the Shermans advance. Then, a thunderclap. A 105mm artillery shell crashes into the lead tank, flipping its turret like a toy. Ambush! The street erupts. Japanese gunners open fire from hidden embrasures in concrete buildings, their Type 1 47mm guns tearing chunks of armour from the Sherman's flanks. Smoke and dust turn the avenue into hell. "Button up," Riley orders. "Driver, push through." The tanks surge ahead, their 50 calibers hammering upper floors while infantry scurry behind for cover. Each building becomes a miniature battlefield, grenades, flamethrowers, and tank shells clearing the way yard by yard. One Sherman, Lucky Strike, rams through a barricade of trucks, firing point blank into a Japanese pillbox. The explosion shakes the ground. The crew inside cheers, but only for a moment. A Molotov cocktail crashes onto their engine deck, flames licking across the armour. The driver throws open the hatch, smoke pouring out. "We're hit! Fire on the deck!" A Filipino guerrilla, barefoot and bleeding, sprints from the ruins with a bucket of sand. Without hesitation, he climbs onto the burning tank and smothers the flames. Inside, the crew stares in disbelief. "Who the hell was that?" someone whispers. The man doesn't answer. He just nods and disappears back into the chaos. By dusk, the Shermans have pushed into the city's heart. They're scarred, battered, but still running, like mechanical beasts refusing to die. Behind every advance lies a trail of crushed stone and silence where machine guns once barked. From his command post, deep in the walled city, Admiral Iwabuchi listens to the distant thunder of tank fire echoing through the night. His staff reports are grim. His anti-tank guns destroyed. His bunkers collapsing under constant bombardment. He clenches his fists and whispers, "How can coffins move like that?" For the men defending Manila, the myth is dead. The Sherman isn't a coffin. It's an omen. Every rumble of its tracks means another position lost, another day closer to the inevitable fall of the city. And when dawn comes, the ground itself seems to tremble with their approach. March the 2nd, Muvsoth. The ruins of Intramuros, Manila. The sky is an ochre haze, thick with smoke and the metallic taste of war. The echoes of artillery bounce between shattered cathedrals and broken bridges. Once called the Pearl of the Orient, the city is now a scorched labyrinth of rubble and ash. The 37th Infantry Division, after nearly 2 months of relentless fighting, has reached the end of its bloody path. The Shermans, their hulls dented, paint scorched, tracks coated in soot, crawl through the narrow streets like exhausted giants. Inside one of them, Corporal Frank Red Donnelly blinks through the periscope. The city is unrecognizable, every building either flattened or burning. "This ain't a city anymore," he mutters. "It's a graveyard." Beside him, his commander's voice cracks over the radio. "Stay sharp. Japanese holdouts still inside Fort Santiago." At the same moment, deep beneath those ruins, Lieutenant Watanabe sits slumped against a wall, uniform torn, face streaked with grime. Around him, what remains of his platoon huddles in silence. The once proud Chiha tanks are twisted hulks above ground, crushed under the relentless American advance. Their munitions gone, their supplies exhausted, the soldiers whisper of surrender, but none dare speak it aloud. The sound comes again, that grinding, rhythmic roar of tank treads. Watanabe closes his eyes. "They're here," he says quietly. Outside, Georgia Peach II leads the final assault. The 75mm cannon belches flame, blasting through the fortress gates. Infantry pour in behind it, rifles raised. Resistance collapses in minutes. The remaining Japanese defenders, starved and surrounded, emerge with hands raised or grenades clutched to their chests. Watanabe watches from the doorway as the Sherman rolls into the courtyard, its gun leveled directly at him. He steps forward slowly, dropping his pistol. The tank halts. For a long moment, neither side moves. Only the engine's low growl fills the air. Donnelly opens his hatch, squinting down at the man. "You done?" he calls out. Watanabe nods. "Finished," he says in halting English. "Your coffins did not burn." The line hangs in the smoke, bitter, almost reverent. Hours later, the battle for Manila ends. Over 100,000 civilians are dead. Countless soldiers on both sides lost. The city is liberated, but at a cost that leaves even the victors hollow. Yet amid the ruin, one truth is undeniable. The Sherman, mocked, doubted, dismissed, has proven its worth not through invincibility, but endurance. Across the Philippine archipelago, from Lingayen Gulf to the mountains of Baguio, its tracks carve the end of the Japanese Empire's hold. Survivors among the Imperial Army later write in their diaries of the green monsters that never stop coming. Months later, when Watanabe is captured and questioned, an American correspondent asks him what he thought of the M4 Sherman. The officer pauses, searching for words. Then quietly, he answers, "I laughed at them once. I do not laugh anymore." The war in the Pacific will continue, through Okinawa, Iwo Jima, and finally Hiroshima. But here, in the mud and ruins of Luzon, the myth of American weakness died. Crushed beneath the treads of a machine once mocked as a gasoline coffin, and as the last Shermans roll toward the setting sun, their engines rumble like thunder fading into memory. The sound of disbelief turned to defeat.